What if I told you that you could spend an entire day in one of Southeast Asia's most incredible countries? You would be eating amazing food, getting around easily, seeing stunning places, and spending less than $15? Not a joke, not an exaggeration. That is Malaysia on a budget. And today, I am breaking down every single thing you need to know to do it right. Accommodation, food, transport, activities, all the little hacks in between. This is the one video you need before you book that flight. So let's get into it. But firstly, why is Malaysia so incredible? Because honestly, it is one of the most underrated travel destinations out there. Its neighbors, Thailand, Indonesia, Singapore, they get all the attention. But Malaysia is sitting right there, offering tropical islands, jungles, vibrant cities, and some of the most diverse and delicious food you will ever eat in your life. Chinese influences, Indian influences, traditional Malay flavors, all of it blending together into something absolutely incredible. And the people. Genuinely some of the warmest, most welcoming people you will ever meet while traveling. Also, it is worth mentioning that English is widely spoken there. So if you have ever felt nervous about traveling somewhere where communication might be difficult, Malaysia removes that stress almost completely. Now let's talk about money. And let's start with accommodation, because this is where a lot of people overspend without realizing it. Your budget range in Malaysia for accommodation is honestly one of the widest I have ever seen. On the very low end, you are looking at around $4 to $14 per night for a bed in a shared room. And that is a backpacker level. Very simple, but perfectly functional. If you want a private room or a small apartment, you are looking at roughly $6 to $40 per night for mid-range options. And if you want something more comfortable or even luxurious, that can go from $40 all the way up to several hundreds of dollars per night. For most budget travelers, though, the sweet spot is a private room apartment in the bigger cities. In places like Kuala Lumpur, Johor Bahru, and Cyberjaya, you can find solid one-bedroom apartments for around $30 to $40 per night total. That is not per person, that is for the whole space. So if you are traveling with someone else, that number cuts in half. And now, here is something important to know. The island accommodation is a completely different pricing category. Expect to pay up to 3 times more on islands than you would on the mainland. Langkawi, Perhentian Islands, Redang Island, these are the premium destinations, and the prices also reflect that. But here is the thing. Some island packages are actually great value because they include snorkeling trips and meals. So the price may look high at first, but when you see what is included, it can make sense. For booking, Agoda.com tends to run a bit cheaper than Booking.com in Malaysia specifically, but it is worth checking both. Airbnb also works well in the big cities where there is a good supply of apartments. Just know that outside major cities, Airbnb options get thin quickly, and you will likely need to go with a hotel instead. Also, keep in mind that there is a tourist tax of around $2 per night that Malaysia has implemented. Small amount, but worth knowing, so it does not catch you off guard. And one more thing on accommodation. Timing matters. So if you want to visit the East Coast and the islands over there like Perhentian and Redang, the best window is June through September. For Kuala Lumpur, Penang, and Langkawi, December through March tends to be the best period. And know that rainy seasons happen at different times in different areas, so planning around them can help you avoid bad weather and closed activities. Now, we continue with food. And this is where Malaysia genuinely gets exciting for a budget traveler. The absolute best places to eat in Malaysia are the food courts, called Medan Seleras and night markets. At these spots, you are looking at $1 to $3 for a full dish. A full, hot, flavorful, generous meal. For comparison, fast food chains like McDonald's are actually more expensive than these local options. Think about that for a second. The cheap local food is better quality and cheaper than the international chains. That is just amazing. The national dish is nasi lemak, which is a coconut rice with different extras, and you can find it everywhere for less than $1 at food courts. But if you want to sit down at an actual restaurant with table service and a menu, expect to pay somewhere between $6 and $13 per dish. Still affordable by global standards, but the food court experience is where the real value lives. There's also some other dishes you absolutely have to try. Mee curry, a rich curry noodle soup that will hit differently. Nasi kerabu, which is a blue rice dish that looks unusual but tastes amazing. There's also satay, a grilled meat on sticks with peanut sauce, which is a classic that never gets old. And talking about the desserts, ice kacang and sendal are these cold, refreshing iced desserts perfect for dealing with the heat. In the Malaysian climate, a cold sendal on a hot afternoon is basically a recovery nutrition. My kind of post-workout meal, if I am being honest. So on average, if you are eating mostly at food courts and street stalls, you can realistically keep your food spending around $4 per person per day. And if you supplement with some simple groceries for breakfast or light meals, that cost drops even further. Now transport. Getting around Malaysia is cheap and pretty well organized. Within cities, your best friend is Grab. Think of it as Malaysia's version of a rideshare app, similar to Uber. It is affordable, reliable, and especially useful in areas where public transport is limited. For buses between cities, you are typically paying $1 to $4 per trip for shorter journeys. Even longer routes stay at reasonable prices. Buying tickets at the bus terminal works fine, and for some local routes you can pay directly on the bus. Just bring exact change because not all places give back change. Trains are another solid option. Inner-city train routes can cost less than 50 cents on the low end, and getting from a major city area to the airport runs around $3. And also, the trains are a relaxing way to see the countryside while moving between destinations, and the prices make it a no-brainer over taxis for longer journeys. If you need to cross bigger distances within the country, AirAsia operates domestic routes, and you can genuinely find tickets under $50. Malaysia is not a tiny country, so flying can save you significant time on certain routes. And at those prices, it often makes more sense than an overnight bus. Now here is something worth knowing as a real transport gem: the Jungle Railway. It goes through the middle of Malaysia, passing thick rainforest and small remote villages. It is not the fastest way to travel, but it is one of those experiences that sticks with you, because it is extremely affordable, genuinely beautiful, and the kind of thing you will talk about for years. And now, let's move on to activities. And this is where Malaysia surprises a lot of people. There are a remarkable number of free things to do in Malaysia. The Batu Caves just outside Kuala Lumpur are free to enter, and genuinely stunning. Various religious and cultural sites around the country, including the famous Pink Mosque in Putrajaya, are also free. Just walking through different neighborhoods, night markets, and local areas costs you nothing and gives you everything in terms of experience. The KLCC Park in the heart of Kuala Lumpur, where you can see the iconic Petronas Towers, is free. And at around 7:30 each evening, there is a light and water fountain show there. For paid activities, the west coast of Malaysia tends to have more options: adventure parks, zip lining, water parks. When being on the islands, you are looking at snorkeling and island hopping. A full-day island hopping trip, including food, can run around $35 per person, which is a solid value for a full day on the water. You also have to pay a small fee of about $6 to $7 to enter the marine park, but you only pay it once for your whole stay on the island. Now I want to mention some hacks that are worth knowing if you are visiting Malaysia. First of all, it is a good idea to travel with only a small bag when going to Malaysia. The country is well set up for it, because the laundry services are accessible and affordable, and moving through airports, trains, and grab cars is so much easier without big bags. You will save on airline fees, move faster, and feel much more free. If you are visiting multiple places, think strategically about your routing. Cyberjaya, for example, sits between Kuala Lumpur and the main airport and has some of the cheapest accommodation in the country. Staying there even for one night before a flight can save you a good amount compared to staying right in the city center. For SIM cards and connectivity, pick one up at the airport on arrival. They are inexpensive, and having local data makes navigating Grab, finding food courts, and getting around dramatically easier. Do not rely on free Wi-Fi hoping for the best. On the topic of timing your activities, anything outdoors in Malaysia should be scheduled for early morning or evening. The midday heat is intense. Use the middle of the day for indoor activities, air-conditioned food courts, or resting if needed. Your energy budget matters just as much as your financial budget, because you want to stay sharp and keep moving. When it comes to shopping, Malaysia has incredible malls and markets. The big fancy malls are interesting to walk through, but if you are on a budget, look for the slightly less polished shopping centers nearby. You will often find the same quality items at significantly lower prices just by crossing the street. Same city, same area, but completely different price points. For dental work, Malaysia is actually well known as a destination for affordable dental tourism. If you have needed work done, but have been putting it off because of costs at home, it is worth looking into. Quality is generally good, and prices are dramatically lower than in most of the Western countries. And now let's talk about the real numbers so you have a clear picture of what to expect. If you are traveling smart, eating at food courts, using buses and trains, doing mostly free activities, you can genuinely travel Malaysia for around $13 to $15 per person per day. That is a real number based on real travel, not some theoretical minimum. So, for a 2-week trip, that puts your in-country spending at somewhere around $180 to $210 per person for the basics. Add accommodation, and you are still looking at a remarkably affordable trip by any global standard. This is the reason why Malaysia deserves way more attention than it gets. If you found this video useful, then hit the subscribe button and join the Ultimate Budget Squad to get every time something actionable that you can use to travel cheaper. Flex hard, spend smart.